Good afternoon, class. I hope you can clearly get me. In today's class, we are going to look at the topic crude oil. Under crude oil, we'll seek to understand the nature of crude oil. We'll also seek to understand the process of crude oil refining. But first things first, what are our lesson's objectives today? By the end of this lesson, you are all expected to be able to define the term crude oil. You should be able to define the term crude refining. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to describe the properties of crude oil and also explain the crude oil refining process. Now, straight away, let us go to the definitions that are pertinent to this topic. What is crude oil? What is crude oil refining? Crude oil is a mixture of hydrocarbons that exist in liquid phase in underground reservoirs. Crude actually exists between layers of sedimentary rock, and here it may exist together with other substances such as water and even gas. This crude is extracted from these underground reservoirs and then processed into useful products through the process of crude refining. After looking at the definitions of what is crude oil and what is crude oil refining, let us now look at the properties of crude oil. Class, it is good to remember that crude oil that comes from different places of the world is different in characteristics. And some of the properties that are used to differentiate crudes include density, viscosity, sweetness, color, composition, among other properties. Let us look at each of these properties. Sweetness. What is sweetness in crude? Crudes are described as either sweet or sour depending on the level of sulfur they contain. Crudes with low levels of sulfur are known as sweet crudes. Conversely, high sulfur levels give us crudes that are described as sour. Color. What is the color of crude? The color of crude ranges from colorless to black, with hues of other colors such as brown and green in between. I know many of you are surprised that crude may be colorless, but actually this is the truth. Composition. What is the composition of crude oil? The main composition of crude oil is hydrocarbons. And the hydrocarbons found in crude oil cover the range of the gaseous hydrocarbons to the solid hydrocarbons. In addition, crude contains impurities such as sulfur, as we have seen before, and other substances. Let us continue on properties of crude oil. Density. Some crudes are very dense, while some crudes are light. The heaviest crudes have densities of about 950 kilograms per cubic meter, while the lightest crudes have densities of around 800 kilograms per cubic meter. Viscosity. What is viscosity? Viscosity is the ease with which crude can be poured. Some crudes are very thick and they have viscosities in the range of 10,000 centipours. Some crudes are very light, almost like water, and they have viscosities of less than 100 centipours. As you can see, class, the range between 100 and 10,000 is very large, and you can have so many viscosities in between that give us different crudes based on viscosity. After looking at the properties of crude oil, let us now look at the crude oil refining process. And in this section of the lesson, we are going to watch a 2-minute video, and as you watch this video, note the following features of the process: crude oil pretreatment, separation, conversion, and treatment of products. Welcome.
Distillation process is taking place. Crude oil is supplied to a furnace before the distillation tower, where crude oil is heated and vaporized and it becomes the crude oil mixture. The vapor and liquid mixture is then fed into the bottom section of the tower. The feed section is the hottest point in the distillation tower and can reach as high as 400 degrees C. Components that are still liquid at this elevated temperature become the tower's bottom product. Components that are in vapor form rise up the tower through a series of distillation stages. The temperature decreases as the vapors rise through the tower and the components condense. The yield from a distillation tower refers to the relative percentage of each of the separated components, known as product streams. Products from the distillation tower range from gases at the top to very heavy, viscous liquids at the bottom. In all cases, these product streams are still considered unfinished and require further processing to become useful products. Light products, light ends are further separated into propane, normal butane, and isobutene. This stream is often referred to as liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, and is sold as a cooking and heating fuel. Naphtha could be blended into motor gasoline, but is more likely sent to a catalytic reforming unit for octane improvement. Kerosene is generally treated and used as jet fuel. Heavier distillate streams are also treated and blended into finished diesel fuel or home heating oil, or are further processed in conversion units such as fluidized catalytic cracking and hydrocracking. The routing of these streams will vary as product demand changes to either maximize diesel production or gasoline production. Lowest end of columns, asphalt.
After looking at that process of crude oil refining, let us now summarize what we have covered in the lesson today. The definition of crude oil and crude refining. Crude is a mixture of hydrocarbons in liquid state. Crude is classified according to properties such as density, viscosity, color, and sweetness. Finally, we've looked at the fractional distillation of crude oil that yields useful products, in which the crude oil is first heated to generate vapor. This vapor rises up a column. In this column, it condenses according to the differences in melting points of the products. At the lightest products, you have gaseous products, and at the bottom of the product you have the most viscous products.